A group of Duke Lacrosse players at the University of Duke were accused of a serious crime, sexual assault. Before investigations were completed, the players were publicly condemned. Careers destroyed, reputations ruined, families dragged through hell. Eventually, the case collapsed. The accusations were false. The prosecutor in that case was disbarred. But again, the damage had already been done. Are you ready for facts? Unfiltered, unbiased, uncensored. The Joe Rossano Show is next. Welcome to the Joe Rossano Show. Hi, I am Joe Rossano. Let's rock. Today's episode, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, is, quite frankly, going to make some folks a little uncomfortable. But that's usually a sign that it needs to be said. We're going to talk about conspiracies, accusations, speculation, and what happens when people start connecting dots without evidence. More specifically, we're going to discuss the recent conspiracies surrounding Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, his widow, and even foreign government involvement, and why history teaches us to slow down, not to rush to judgment, because we've been here before, and every time we rush, innocent people get hurt. Let me be very clear at the outset. This episode is not an accusation. It's not an endorsement of any conspiracy. It's a warning, grounded in history. And what happens when speculation replaces facts? When something shocking happens, especially to a celebrity or a famous person, our brains crave explanations. We want answers immediately. And when answers don't come fast enough, speculation rushes in to fill the void. Social media accelerates this process. Rumors get clicks. Emotion beats evidence, and before long, theories harden into accusations, even when no proof exists. We've seen this movie before. Speaking of which, let's start here. Richard Jewell. In 1996, during the Atlanta Olympics, a bomb was discovered in Centennial Olympic Park. Richard Jewell, a security guard, noticed suspicious packages and helped evacuate the area, saving lives. At first, he was a hero. He was on Good Morning America. He was on all the talk shows. The country loved him. Then almost overnight, he became the prime suspect in the public eye. Why? Because anonymous leaks, speculation, and profiting created a narrative the media ran with. No trial, no evidence, just speculation. Richard Jewell was never charged. He was later fully exonerated, but his life was permanently damaged. It got to a point where the FBI raided his home. They had no regard for his mother's property. They took away his Second Amendment right. And years later, the real bomber was caught, proving how wrong the speculation was. Case number 2. You all recall the Central Park Five. In this case, in 1989, 5 teenagers were accused of a brutal assault in Central Park. The case ignited media outrage all over the country. Media coverage, of course, assumed guilt. Public opinion demanded punishment. They were convicted. Years later, DNA evidence and a confession from the real perpetrator proved they were innocent. They lost years of their lives. Not because of facts, but because society wanted a story to believe. Got one more for you. The Duke Lacrosse players. As we remember, this wasn't too long ago. A group of Duke Lacrosse players at the University of Duke were accused of a serious crime, sexual assault. Before investigations were completed, the players were publicly condemned. Careers destroyed, reputations ruined, families dragged through hell. Eventually, the case collapsed. The accusations were false. The prosecutor in that case was disbarred. But again, the damage had already been done. What do all these cases have in common? Speculation preceded evidence. Narratives formed before facts. And once accusations took hold, the truth struggled to catch up. Now, let's bring this all back today. The Charlie Kirk conspiracies. In recent discussions online, there have been claims, theories, accusations surrounding the Charlie Kirk assassination with regard to TPUSA, his widow, and alleged foreign government involvement. Let me say this clearly and unmistakably. There's no verified public evidence supporting these claims. None. Yet people are already naming suspects, assigning motives, drawing conclusions. This is exactly how innocent people get pulled into storms they didn't create. History teaches us, as you just saw with Richard Jewell, the Central Park Five, and the Duke Lacrosse players, being wrong is far more common than being right when speculation leads the way. Why does this matter? You don't need to like someone to believe in due process. You don't need to agree politically to demand evidence. And you don't need to trust institutions blindly. But skepticism cuts both ways. Skepticism without discipline becomes paranoia, and paranoia hurts real people, widows, families, colleagues, employees, people who may have nothing to do with what's being alleged. The responsibility of this commentary as commentators, podcasters, and content creators, we have a responsibility. We can ask questions, fair questions, but accusations, again, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, require proof. Speculation should never be presented as fact. History proves that when we abandon that principle, we ruin lives. Richard Jewell never got his reputation back. The Central Park Five never got their youth back. The Duke Lacrosse players never got that time back. Let's not add to the names on this list because speculation isn't proof, accusation isn't evidence, and truth doesn't need shortcuts. If you believe in justice, then you believe in patience. If you believe in truth, then you demand evidence. If you believe in accountability, it applies to all of us. All right, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, it's time for what I would say is probably your pal Joe Rossano's favorite segment here on the Joe Rossano Show, and that is your questions and comments here in the jar. So basically, and I ask, please email me with any questions or comments, joe@joerossano.com. It's joe@joerossano.com. I get instant messages on social media. I even get text messages from friends of mine. I write them down. I put them here in this jar. I shake it up. We don't do favoritism here at the Joe Rossano Show. And I read them out loud and I answer them right here on air. And sometimes they're a little outrageous. Sometimes people tell me how bad I am or how bad I look. Doesn't matter. I read them anyway. So let me reach into the jar here and pick a couple out at random, read them to you right here on the air. So we are going to start here. First one is from Michael. Michael writes, Joe, do you have any facts that proves these conspiracies are wrong? No, honestly. See, I was honest right off the bat there. Um, Let me tell you some problems that I'm having here is just again, I always get back to the Easter Bunny effect. Okay. I would say that the person responsible or the thing that's responsible for the Charlie Kirk assassination is the Easter Bunny. And the reason I say that is because that is as good as a guess as any I've heard out there. I mean, by golly, Can I prove these conspiracies are wrong? No, but can they prove these conspiracies are facts? No, they cannot. They cannot. And that's why I come on here and I give you the facts. And when the facts emerge, and they may or may not, Michael, I'll read them right here on air. I will tell you exactly what's going on. Now, I'll always get back to it is unfortunate that our leaders and our agencies have not been more transparent, because during the campaigns and when people got appointed, they promised transparency. And I am a little disappointed at the lack of transparency, which has caused this vacuum. Okay. Lack of transparency allows all these conspiracies to flourish, and they're everywhere. Michael, I really appreciate you writing in. So let's do the next one. Next, turn it around. Next, this comes from Simon. Simon writes, Joe, do you think any of the claims about Erika Kirk, TPUSA, and others are true at all? That's a tough one. And I appreciate that, Simon. I am going to tell you right now that some of the behavior all around Erika Kirk, TPUSA, foreign governments, the comments that have been made are suspicious. They're suspicious. Just the way people act throughout this whole thing, to me and to many of you, okay, and our views of the world are probably not how we would act. But again, unless we can look through the eyes of someone else, a widow or a friend or a colleague, we just can't read minds. And I refuse to report something I can't prove. Now, Erika Kirk, let's just talk about this right now. Okay. Some weird stuff. All right. She walks out on stage wearing what some people would think was an inappropriate outfit. Okay. Sparkles everywhere, fire shooting up. Okay. As if, she just walked on stage at a Kiss concert. Probably not something I would do after my wife was assassinated, but I can't speak intelligently about what someone else thinks or what someone else does. Maybe, and this is a maybe she just wants to carry on her late husband's legacy, and she pulled up her big girl pants and is trying to do the best she can. Okay. Now, some of these conspiracies, okay, now I want you, Simon, and everyone watching to consider this very carefully, because I'm going to be specific with a conspiracy I've heard. Okay, you ready for this? Erika Kirk is a government agent who was planted in Charlie Kirk's life, okay, to woo him into asking her to marry him. Then she allows him to impregnate her, not once, but twice, has two of his children. Okay. And when her target went rogue, she pulls the trigger, figuratively speaking, to have him assassinated. That just to me sounds a little out there. Okay. It just sounds a little out there. I mean, why not, I don't know, pour something in his drink? I mean, why, get an armed person to do it in broad daylight in front of everybody when they could have just stopped whatever the powers that be, whatever the folks in this conspiracy wanted to do? Why didn't they just do it quietly? I don't know. But again, now, here's another thing, okay? The hug seen and heard round the world. She hugs J.D. Vance and touches his hair. Well, she must be involved. I mean, they must be having an affair. President J.D. Vance is going to leave his wife, marry Erika Kirk, and they're going to be the president and first lady in 2028. I mean, do you hear this? And my problem with this is basically, let's say that happens. Say he leaves his wife, he marries Erika, and they're a power couple running for president and first lady. Let's just say that happens. Do you have any idea how many people are going to be upset about that? They're not going to vote for J.D. Vance for that reason alone. There's going to be people out there who don't appreciate that he left his wife. There's going to be people out there who do not appreciate that he's in a relationship with Charlie Kirk's widow. And that's not going to bode very well for either of them. But at the end of the day, again, your pal Joe Rossano is going to come on here when he has facts or stop people from spreading these conspiracies without evidence. And I'll die on this hill. I just think I can look in the mirror and say I am a father, I am a husband, I am a brother, and I'm proud of what I see because I'm honest. Once again, and as always, I graciously and wholeheartedly appreciate you tuning into the Joe Rossano Show, where we are unfiltered, unbiased, uncensored. Once again, God bless you, my dearest friends and fellow Americans. Don't forget to adopt a pet. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for all the latest episodes of The Joe Rossano Show.